it's Tanya from Royal City Nursery, and it is one of my favorite times of year. Okay, I have lots of favorite times of year, but really, this is the favorite right now. The bulbs are here! Ah! More importantly, all the bulbs are not here yet. We've got about half of our order in, but I want to go through what we do have, and I also want to answer a couple of really basic questions. One of the questions we get is, how do I plant the little darlings? And really, when do I plant the little darlings? Well, your best selection for purchasing is going to be through the month of September. So come on out, visit a couple times. Early September means you've got about 50 to 60% of our bulb order. If you're in mid-September, we've got varieties that are sold out, but that's okay. There's more coming. For planting, you want to start planting most of your bulbs the tail end of September through the entire month of October. There's one exception, and actually there's 5 exceptions, but it's one category, and that's the fall blooming crocus. So that's these here. We've got 3 other varieties in stock. Fall blooming crocus, you plant now. Plant them in early September because they actually bloom now, which is kind of wild, right? So you plant them in the ground, they shoot up a flower. Some of them are going to be really, really short, like the saffron crocus. Some of them are going to be a little bigger, like the giants underneath, but bigger still only means 4 to 6 inches tall. They're going to bloom now, then they're going to rest, they're going to push leaves in the springtime, and then we do nothing. It's beautiful. The rest of our bulbs, this set here, I've just pulled a little bit of a selection. You don't plant these until the tail end of September through the entire month of October. Why? Well, the squirrels are going to be really busy, and I'd really rather that you're not planting a squirrel buffet. So we want to let the squirrels do most of their work first, and then we can go ahead. Next question we get is, how do I plant them? How far apart do I plant them? The awesome part when we're talking bulbs is we can actually plant them so the little darlings are touching, just like that. For me, I generally tend to dig a hole and drop a few in. I don't particularly care all that much. I just want to make sure that I'm planting them tips up, right? So that's the easy way to remember. When you're planting a bulb, tip up. We're going to take a look at this onion, because an onion's a bulb. When I cut it open, you can see the root structure down here. So this we want on the bottom. We've got growth tip at the top. Totally makes sense, right? So I'm going to dig a hole and I'm going to put the onion in. And when I do that, I'm actually going to give it a little bit of a twist. So I'm going to literally screw it into the soil. And then I'm going to cover it with some good soil. And I'm also going to use some bone meal. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use some hen manure on the top. I'm going to use hen manure on the top because that's going to help keep the squirrels and the bunnies at bay. You can use bone meal too. Bone meal is awesome for the flowers, but it does nothing for the critters. When we think about how deep do we plant our bulbs? Well, there's a few exceptions, but general rule of thumb, we'll go back to our onion again, is twice the depth of the bulb. So if the bulb is, in this case, about 2.5 inches tall, I actually want to plant it roughly about 6 inches deep, right? Bigger bulb means I dig a bigger hole. Totally makes sense. If I plant a tree with a really big root, I need to dig a deeper hole than if I plant a hosta. So if I take a look at this fall crocus again, little itty bitty bulb, I'm going to plant these guys about 2, maybe 3 inches deep tops. So again, basic rule of thumb for most of them is twice the depth of the bulb. Really, really simple. And don't forget that hen manure. We'll get that in there. When I look at different kinds of bulbs, we want to plant our bulb garden the same way we plan the rest of our garden spaces. There's a whole bunch of different flowering times, and bulbs are a phenomenal way of adding color when your traditional perennials and flowering shrubs are not up. So things like the snow crocus, which are here, or even the more traditional crocus here, are great because these show up in March, right? So we get that snow melt, then you got a couple of weeks so it's just sort of gray, and then the crocus pop out. These are super early. We love crocus too because they're phenomenal for our pollinator friends. So if we've got any bees or pollinating insects that's waking up a little early and they're kind of drunk from a little too much sleep, we've given them a food source. Everybody needs to have some crocus in the yard just for that. And besides, they're happy. That's awesome. So crocus are going to be a very early spring, which means we're at the tail end of March through mid-April. Then we've got early spring. So early spring, you get some tulips in there. You can get a few other things in there. So early spring is tail end of April, early part of May. Now, mid-spring is bulb heaven. I've just pulled a few tulips. So these are some mid-spring tulips. You got to keep in mind when you think tulips, you get some different heights, you get some different flower shapes, you get some different colors. Beautiful, gorgeous. There's different daffodils. Now the one on the top, this is actually my favorite. This is one called Tanya. Tanya is a dwarf one, which means it's short. So figure it's going to be about a foot tall, so it's like that. But little white flowers on the top, totally different. And yes, it's a narcissus or a daffodil. And that also means it's squirrel resistant too. The deer don't like it, the rabbits don't like it, so awesome. And then down on the tail end here, I've got some alliums or some ornamental onions. A couple different kinds. There's some little short guys at the in the beginning called a silver spring. So this one gets about 4 to 6 inches tall. Or if we look down at the bottom, we've got the traditional alliums. And this one is one of the globe masters. So ornamental onions or alliums flower in late spring, so we're looking at mid to end of June. When we think about that globe master, you're looking at a head that's like this. It's beautiful. It looks like a purple lollipop on the spring. The nice thing with those is, again, alliums are their cousins of these guys, right? We talked about onions. And again, deer don't like them, the rabbits don't like them, and the squirrels don't like them. So even to plant a few of these in around your vegetable patch is a really neat way of reducing the wildlife damage to your vegetables come springtime. So it's a lot of info, it's a lot of stuff. The bulbs are here. Come and get them, we'll see you soon.